Hello, everyone. It is Saturday morning, October 21st. Go ahead and take you a little sip of coffee here. Just go ahead and just get it rolling because we got games today. I am Blayne Gilmer. This is Southeastern 14, your home for daily SEC football coverage. And as we do every Saturday morning during football season, we're going to go over these games, guys, and get ready to go. Make sure that you check out everything scrolling across the bottom. If you want to partner up with the channel, if you want a little bit of 15% discount off of some good snacks with CHOMPS for game day, things like that. So check all that out, guys. But it's time to dive right into these football games that we're looking forward to in week 8. Lots of teams on byes as those bye weeks are starting to creep in and get rolling through here. But we do have 4 really good SEC games to go through this week. And then, of course, you've got LSU and Army, which we won't be previewing. LSU should take care of business against Army. I do think what they're doing over there is very cool with the camo end zones and also just honoring our troops, especially with what is going on around the world today. So always consistently be praying for our troops, praying that our country doesn't have to get involved in things around the world. And, you know, I think that everybody, no matter what team you're rooting for in the SEC, I think everybody can root for that team. I'm intrigued to see that matchup and see LSU get to honor Army. Now, just be careful now. The Black Knights, okay, with Army, they almost went into Oklahoma a few years ago and kind of upset a little party where they were trying to honor Army a little bit. So just don't take them too lightly, LSU, but LSU should take care of business there. Now, for the SEC matchups, guys, we're going to start off with Mississippi State traveling to Arkansas. Arkansas is a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under has plummeted down to 48. And, guys, I think that may be an indication that maybe Will Rogers, Woody Marks, Justin Robinson, they're all questionable. Vegas may be learning that they may not be able to play in this game, so they're bringing down that total a little bit. Even if they do play, how limited will Rogers be? If they don't, guys, then you're going to see a totally different style, I think, of attack that Arkansas has to prepare for defensively. Landon Jackson and Sam Pittman both have said, hey, we're thinking that we're preparing for Mike Wright. We're preparing for Will Rogers. Mike Wright on the year, guys, is averaging over 6 yards per carry, almost 7 yards per carry when he runs the football. 20 carries, 138 yards. We know from his time at Vanderbilt he can really run. He's very, very talented, can fly. He's a sprinter type guy at quarterback, so it totally changes a lot of the dynamic. If he's not able to if Will Rogers is not able to go, I think you'll see more RPOs. You'll see more zone read, all that kind of stuff out of this Mississippi State offense. So that would change the dynamic a little bit. But efficiency, who knows? We'll see. He's only completed 11 passes on the year, and there's been times where this Mississippi State passing attack, even Will Rogers, has left a lot to be desired. So I think that would be a case where you would be looking for this to be a game that's lower scoring, especially the way Arkansas has played defensively this year. I really like the way Arkansas even limited Alabama. If Woody Jaquavius Marks is out, I think Seth Davis is the one who will take the bulk of the carries at running back. Be him mixing in there with Mike Wright running the football. Of course, you'll have Jeffrey Pittman as well. So those are names to keep an eye on if Woody Marks is out. This is a game that Arkansas guys, they just need to take care of business. They've been competitive against the top tier of the SEC West, having to go on the road 3 out of 4 weeks to a team's actual home stadium, opponent's home stadium in LSU, Ole Miss, and Alabama, and then, of course, a neutral site game against Texas A&M thrown in there as well. 5 straight losses for Arkansas. So they definitely are feeling the pressure to get things going, getting back in the win column. I think they're just going to be better, guys, in terms of along the lines of scrimmage. I think they're going to make things tough for whichever quarterback is playing for Mississippi State. Give me the Hogs at home. This is, like I said, a 12 o'clock game, so early kick, 11 o'clock Central Time over there. I think you'll see Arkansas get things going early. Also, guys, I just trust KJ Jefferson. He continues to make plays. Guys, on third down this year, KJ Jefferson, 67.3% passing on third down, 471 yards. Now, I will say one thing that Arkansas has to do is against Power 5 teams this year, they just cannot run the football very well. Rocket Sanders is going to be out once again for this game. I do think Arkansas, though, will get some guys back on the defensive side of the ball. They should get Dwight McGlothern back, Jalen Braxton back, Chris Paul Jr. back. So they should be able to get a lot of guys back defensively that will help out against whichever quarterback is playing. But one thing I'm looking for out of Arkansas, I know Rocket Sanders is out, but they have only rushed on rush yards per attempt against Power 5 teams. They're averaging 2.73 yards per carry. So Arkansas's offensive line, those other running backs, whether it's Green, DeBinion, whoever over there carrying the football, KJ Jefferson, got to get something going in the run game to help out a little bit over there. But I like Arkansas to win, and I'm going to take Arkansas to cover in this game. I really like their defensive front. I think they're going to get after Mississippi State. So give me the Hogs to win, and I think they'll win by a good margin today at home. All right, now the next game that we're going to cover is South Carolina at Missouri. 7.5-point favorite are the Tigers here against the Gamecocks. And boy, the momentum right now for these two programs, couldn't be any different. Shane Beamer's got a broken foot after kicking something after an emotional loss to Florida. So he's got to come in there and kind of pimp walk around the sideline a little bit, just hobble up and down and do his best Dooley impersonation over there from Tennessee a couple years ago. He was walking on crutches. Now, I don't think Beamer will be on crutches, but my goodness, it's just one of those things with Shane Beamer at this point. Now, we know he's an emotional guy, and we'll see if his team can kind of rally around the old broken foot coach there to get things going. But the main thing about this game is of course health up front for South Carolina. They continue to be just devastated by injuries up front. Vershawn Lee is the latest to not be able to play, so he's going to be out on this game. They'll have to put in Sidney Fugar at right tackle, but at this point Shane Beamer says they can mix and match everywhere because there's been so many guys hurt that they've had to play every position possible. So there could be a shakeup on that offensive line. So just keep that in mind. South Carolina against Power 5 teams only averaging 3.11 yards per rushing attempt this year. So you would like to see them do a little bit better than that. Although they did do a little bit better last week against Florida. Mario Anderson has really kind of given them a jolt in the running game. So can they run on Missouri is my question here. That's a big question because Missouri is dealing with some injuries of their own, guys. Tyron Hopper is going to have to step up because Chad Bailey, linebacker, is out for this game. Not an insignificant thing. Enos Rakestraw is out or questionable after being out for the Kentucky game. And then we'll get to their Cody Schrader deal on the offensive side alone. But as Missouri has not been great at stopping the run in the last couple of weeks, luckily Kentucky turned the ball over a few times last week, so that really helped out them defensively a good bit. But listen, LSU 6.4 yards per carry, Kentucky 5.1 yards per carry versus the Tigers. Can South Carolina get anything going in the run game? They'll need to be able to slow down the pass rush and help Spencer Rattler out so they don't have to be as one-dimensional. And then defensively, guys, can South Carolina just find a way to not bust so many coverages, miss so many open field tackles as they did last week against Florida and as they've done throughout the season? Man, goodness gracious, they gave up a lot of big plays to Ricky Pearsall, to Graham Mertz, 423 yards passing they gave up at home to Graham Mertz did the South Carolina Gamecocks. So I just wonder if they'll be able to limit Brady Cook, Luther Burden, Theo Wease, Mookie Cooper, all of these guys at all in this game. I think this is going to be a track meet. I think you're going to see a lot of points scored in this one. I could see a score something like 38-31 Missouri in this game. I don't feel great about the spread. I feel like that's hit or miss, but I do feel like if you were wanting to bet something today, then I say take the over, especially if you got to lock it in at 59.5 back when it was at. That's what we had it at earlier in the week. 3:30 kickoff here on the Southeastern Conference Network, SEC Network. So, guys, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, for South Carolina, some injury stuff. Stone Blanton should play at linebacker for him. Juice Wells continues to be out. Vershawn Lee is out on the offensive line. Now, another deal for Missouri. They haven't run the ball the greatest in the world. They're rushing yards per attempt on versus Power 5 teams this year, 3.68 yards. Now, Cody Schrader has run the ball pretty well, but the question about him is he going to be available? Still dealing with a quad injury. Eli Drinkwitz hasn't said a whole lot about it. He's a tough guy, so if he goes in there, I expect him just to play as normal if he's in there in the lineup. So we'll see kind of before pregame if he is going to play or not. But guys, that quad injury can be lingering. It can be tough. So will they rest him this game and try to get him a little bit of extra rest going into the bye week and get him healthy, because they have Georgia after the bye week. So a lot to see here, but I like Missouri to take care of business in Como to win the Mayor Cup, but I do think South Carolina will put up points and remain close in this one. So that is our preview of South Carolina and Missouri. Now, the game of the week, guys, is Tennessee, the Vols, going on the road to the Tide. That Vols defense, guys, is sporty now. It creates a lot of havoc, gets into the backfield a lot. They pressure the quarterback. You got James Pierce, Aaron Beasley, Tyler Barron, all of these guys that really fly around and make it difficult for opposing offensive lines. And that is something that Alabama has struggled with. They've allowed 31 sacks, the worst in the SEC, one of the worst in the entire country. Caden Proctor has been a liability at left tackle this year. So can they help him out on key passing downs and, keep Jalen Milroe clean in the pocket when he needs to be on third down? There's been times where he's made throws that he's had people, hitting him in the chest, right around his legs, all that kind of stuff, and he still made throws on third down. A little comparison between the two quarterbacks here, guys, on third down. You got Jalen Milroe completing 64.7% of his passes and accounting for 442 yards passing on third down this year, whereas Joe Milton, 50% of his passes and only 243 yards on third down. That's what it's going to all come down to, is how do you protect the quarterback and how does the quarterback play on third down for both of these teams, because I think they're both going to try to be physical. They're both going to try to run the football early on in this game, especially Tennessee. The way they ran the ball on Texas A&M last week was impressive. But guys, I think Alabama is a 8.5 point favorite for a reason here. Not only is that place going to be an absolute insane asylum over there at Bryant-Denny Stadium after Tennessee ended Alabama's streak in this rivalry, those fans are going to be loud. Nick Saban challenged them in his radio show to be very, very loud to affect the football game. So that, I think that's a big advantage. But also, guys, that Alabama defense is playing really, really well. I mean, they're just playing good football in terms of being able to limit people's scoring opportunities once Tennessee does get inside of Alabama territory. I want to see how Joe Milton handles things in terms of red zone offense is going to be huge. He threw a pick in the red zone against Texas A&M last week. Special teams were a big area of a big positive for Tennessee last week. Can Alabama limit opportunities on special teams for the Vols. Make sure that the Vols don't break a big one on a punt return, kick return, something along those lines. But if they can just let Jalen Milroe continue to progress in the way that he has these last couple of weeks, that throw on third down to kind of clinch the game against Arkansas last week with Amari Niblack showed a lot of growth, a lot of maturity, a lot of guts for Jalen Milroe to step up and be able to hang in the pocket and make a throw where he had to fit it into a tight window and kind of throw his receiver open and anticipate a throw. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're looking for out of Milroe. Can Alabama continue to run the football at least efficiently against a Tennessee defensive front that is going to do its best to limit that? There's so many intriguing matchups in this game, guys. Will Tennessee's receivers help out Joe Milton when he actually does throw a accurate pass? I mean, there's been a few times where Joe Milton, has put the ball right where it needed to be, right in the hands of receivers, and they've just absolutely flat out dropped it. Ramel Keaton has done it a few times. There's been a couple other receivers for Tennessee that haven't done so great at it. Does Dante Thornton, does he finally pick it up and have a big play in a game? So there's lots of people that the blame for Tennessee's passing game can be spread around to. It's not all on Joe Milton, but Joe Milton absolutely has to be able to make the routine short to intermediate throws when they're available against Alabama to continue to move the chains. That third down play is going to be absolutely crucial, like I said. But I think given the home environment, given that I think Jalen Milroe is the better quarterback of the two, especially on third down, and given the totality of the defenses, especially the back end, where I think Alabama has a big advantage, where I think Malachi Moore will be able to play in this game. Of course, they've got Caleb Downs, Jalen Key, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, all playing at a really high level. And I think it'll be hard for Tennessee to consecutively make big plays down the field when they need to, especially on key downs. Give me Alabama to win. I do think Tennessee covers this one. I think it's a very low-scoring game, 24-17, something along those lines. Alabama at home takes care of business, in my opinion there. And then, of course, we have Ole Miss going on the road to Auburn, the Hugh Freeze Bowl, if you will. His former employer, Ole Miss, comes to Auburn. Guys, there's lots of people in these programs that are very familiar with each other by nature of Hugh Freeze getting hired at Auburn. People that used to work at Ole Miss now work at Auburn. There's a lot of, desire to beat the other program that goes, beyond your normal, hey, we want to win the game. There's some personal feelings there in this one. So I think that is something to watch. Lane Kiffin has been trolling Auburn a little bit on social media, as Lane always does, given the old Cam Newton dab celebration from his son from his time in Alabama when they beat Auburn at Auburn. So all kinds of stuff with Lane Kiffin. There was a columnist that wrote a column, if Lane Kiffin loses this game, he should be fired. Well, what did Lane Kiffin do? He just retweeted it right out, put it on his X profile right there, right out. So Lane Kiffin is comfortable in his own skin. He is comfortable going in there to try to take care of business versus Auburn, and he's going to continue to be the person he is on social media and otherwise. But the question is he going to have his full complement of weapons? It looks like Jordan Watkins, after we heard otherwise that, hey, he could be out for a while after sustaining a hand injury, during the bye week. Now it's like Lane Kiffin saying he's trending towards playing. So that would give him Watkins. And then, of course, Trey Harris on the other side at receiver. That is always a headache for defenses. Auburn struggled last week, of course, against a high-powered offense in LSU, but who has not struggled against that high-powered offense of LSU? Even the Ole Miss defense struggled. Now, Ole Miss was able to outscore them with Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins and company. I'll be interested to see if Auburn can limit the Ole Miss running game early. If they do, I think if they stuff the run a little bit early and force Jackson Dart to try to play behind the chains a little bit, third and long, things of that nature, then Auburn might have a good shot of keeping this one close, especially early. And here's the thing: once Auburn is in a football game and it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium, then a momentum of all its own takes over and is created and just continues to grow and grow. So Auburn, not an easy place to play. And I want to see how they do at the quarterback position, guys. We talked about third down passing numbers with whether it was with Joe Milton at Tennessee. We talked about third down passing numbers with Jalen Milroe. Guys, it has been abysmal for Peyton Thorne at Auburn on third down this year. Just 44.8%. That is third worst. That is 12th in the SEC. Only 106 yards passing for the entire year on third down. They have to be better. They have to find ways to make this RPO game get going that Hugh Freeze is so known for. And receivers have to make plays. There was a couple of third down plays against Georgia where they could have made the play and the receivers dropped the football. So you have to make plays if you're a receiver and help out your quarterback. If you're Hooks over there at Auburn, Johnson, all these guys at receiver got to find a way to step up and make plays, whether it's Fairweather at tight end. All of these guys have to step up and try to find a way to help this Auburn offense, especially through the air. They have just been not efficient in the passing game at all. So, Ole Miss will try to limit that. Ole Miss is 5th in the country in sacks, guys. They are really getting after people up front. So they have a lot of juice along that defensive front. So can Auburn protect Peyton Thorne? I also think Robbie Ashford should be more involved. If it was me, I would make sure Robbie Ashford is more involved in this game, especially running the football, things of that nature. I think ultimately it's going to come down to who can run the football more effectively, which offensive line starts getting a little bit of push there up front early. Damari Alston probably still out of this game for Auburn. Also, Keontae Scott, Austin Key still out with some injuries. So Auburn is still banged up. Hopefully for them, Jalen Simpson will be able to play more full speed. He was, limited with a calf injury a little bit against LSU. So we'll see if he's more to himself. He played a heck of a football game a couple of weeks ago against Georgia in that one. So can he do so at home once again? Guys, I think that this game is going to be a very fun one to watch. I think this is a game that I wouldn't even like the 5.5. I know Ole Miss is a better football team, but Jordan-Hare Stadium is totally weird. I think it's built on some kind of like Indian burial ground or something. There's some crazy voodoo over there that happens when you play a game at Auburn, and they're always in it, and that crowd is electric. The stadium is one of the loudest I've ever been in. So I think when you're talking about the Auburn Tigers, this one is going to be very, very close. I'm not going to go straight out and pick the upset, but I think this is going to be a game that comes down to the wire. And I think Ole Miss, I think they're a different team this year. I think they find ways to win at end of games. I think there's just some kind of mental block between Ole Miss and Alabama, especially with Lane Kiffin and his former employer and all that kind of stuff. And they were also injured. Guys had 4 guys coming off surgery that were key playmakers coming back for that game. Ole Miss did, but in the LSU game, they showed some resolve late. They showed the ability to grind out a win and find a way to continue to make plays when they needed them the most. I think you'll see that maturity carry over into this game versus Auburn. Give me Ole Miss to win a tight one in this game versus Auburn. I wouldn't be surprised if the under hit on this either. I think both of these defenses are a little bit better than they're getting credit for in that one. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in here to SEC Football Game Day. Like I said, it's October 21st. We're halfway through this SEC schedule, guys. We're going to be getting into the second half of the season. Make sure you tune in tonight here on the channel. So subscribe, like, turn on those notifications. Those notifications will give you an alert when we go live, and we will go live tonight reacting to all these SEC games, probably around 9 Central Time, 10 Eastern, 9 Central Time, reacting to what happened between Tennessee and Bama, reacting to what happened with Mississippi State and Arkansas, what happened with South Carolina and Missouri, and then, of course, Ole Miss and Auburn will probably be still going on when we're reacting to all that stuff. So we would love to have you in there, hop in the chat with us, react to how your team did. And guys, also we will have predictions coming out on Monday morning on the next week. Some big games, guys, looking ahead over there to some of those games. You have the cocktail party, of course, with Georgia and Florida that's coming up there. I think Georgia is listed as a 14.5-point favorite right now in the early lines on that one. You'll have, of course, Kentucky hosting Tennessee. They're coming off a bye week. Will they be able to get stuff right in this bye week and get ready for the Vols coming to town? That'll be an interesting one. Then we'll also have Auburn and Mississippi State next week. You'll have Vanderbilt and at Ole Miss. So lots of interesting matchups in South Carolina at Texas A&M. So we have lots of interesting matchups next week. We'll be breaking it all down throughout the week. We have daily shows, morning report, all that kind of stuff. So thank you for tuning in here to Southeastern 14. Like I said, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we will catch you next time right here to talk more SEC football on your home for daily SEC coverage, Southeastern 14.